Better Way to Thrive Live. Welcome for episode 3, where we're going to talk about a great question with essential oil pricing. So I'm really excited to go over it because it's something that I'm sure a lot of us have thought about before. So again, I'm Kristen. I'm an herbalist and aromatherapist here at A Better Way to Thrive. And my goal is to help you start enjoying God's gift of natural health, one simple step at a time. And so part of that is doing these live videos on the first Saturday of every month where I can answer a subscriber question about natural health. And so today we have a great one from Amber. And Amber asked, why is Melissa essential oil so expensive? Lemon balm is the same plant, right? Yes, it is. It grows like crazy at my house where I've planted it. It spreads just like mint. I just wonder why the oil from a plant that's so prolific would be so expensive. So again, this is a great question, and it's one I had wondered about for a long time also before I started studying things a little more in depth. And the answer is actually pretty simple. So essential oil pricing generally is going to come down to 3 main factors. And so I'm going to go over those one by one. Brand is part of it and marketing is part of it. But as far as the actual cost of the oil, it's going to come down to these 3 things. So the first thing is, how much does it cost to produce this essential oil? If an oil is certified organic or not, that's going to weigh into the cost because the organic certification process is pretty lengthy for suppliers and for growers. And so to go through all that process, it costs them money. And that the fees then that they're spending are going to be carried over to consumers. So you have a more expensive essential oil then. Is the plant material harvested by hand or by machine? That's something to think about because if something's harvested by hand, well, you got to pay the people to do it. And so that's typically a more expensive process. How readily does the plant release its essential oil? So some plants can just be expeller pressed, we say. These are like our citruses. And you can peel an orange at home and see little bursts come out of the peel, little bright orange bursts. That's essential oil. So an orange will release its essential oil so easily that you can do it at home. Whereas other plants have to be distilled for a long time before they fully release all their essential oil content. That long distillation period requires a lot of water and a lot of energy to create the steam that's needed to make essential oils. So that makes some essential oils more expensive than others. Jasmine is an example of a plant that's very expensive to produce, not actually an essential oil. We make absolutes and concretes are made from jasmine flower. So the process is a little different, but it's a good example here to think about. Jasmine flowers have to be picked by hand before the sun comes up, so either in the very, very early morning hours or at night, and it has a short flowering season. So that makes for a really high cost for the oil because of the cost of production. So that's one factor that will weigh into how much an essential oil ends up costing you as the end consumer. The next thing to think about as far as essential oil pricing is how rare is the plant that you're buying the essential oil from. So some plants are abundantly grown, they're easy to find, and so no big deal, we can get a lot of essential oil from them. Other plants maybe have a very small growing range, and so they're only found in a certain area, or there's just not a lot of them out there. Their essential oil is going to be much more expensive. So it's simple economics, supply and demand. We see this a lot right now with sandalwood. So sandalwood used to be produced from the sandalwood trees that grew wild in India. And because the wood powder itself and the essential oil distilled from it became so valuable and the market grew for it, it's been over-harvested to the point where you cannot get Indian sandalwood hardly at all anymore because the plant is so rare, it's so endangered. So now what we have is sandalwood production going on in Australia with slightly new varieties being grown there. But in order to get sandalwood essential oil, you're not distilling like twigs or leaves or bark. You have to cut down the entire tree to get the heartwood. And so it's not as sustainable as other plant sources of essential oil. And so sandalwood, whether you're getting it from, hi Virginia, I'm just now seeing the messages, and Katie, may I see you there too. So sandalwood is one that's going to cost you more because the plant just isn't as abundant as it used to be. And so that is also a big part of pricing for essential oils. The third one, and this is what causes Melissa or lemon balm essential oil to be so expensive, is that you have to consider how much volatile oil does the plant itself contain. So not every plant produces essential oils. That's why if you hear people talk about essential oils are the lifeblood of the plant, that's not true. That's an essential oil myth. It's actually one that I wrote about in my book. That's right there. Right up there, Essential Oils, Separating Truth from Myth. That's one of the 25 myths I cover, is that essential oils are not the lifeblood of the plant because not all plants make them. It's not known exactly how many plants actually do make essential oils. I've read different figures. It doesn't really matter for this. But some plants do, some plants don't. And those that do make essential oil, well, they make it in varying degrees. So to go back to our citrus example from earlier, citrus peels are abundant in essential oil, so much so that if you slice them or use like a peeler, you will see bursts of essential oil shoot out. And I've even seen entire drops on my kitchen counter. Now let's think about a plant like lemon balm, or when it's distilled, we usually call it Melissa. Its botanical name is Melissa officinalis, and so that's why it's called Melissa. But we also know it as lemon balm. Well, lemon balm, it grows everywhere. I grow lemon balm at my house. The plant is abundant here, but it produces very little essential oil in the plant itself. So what does that mean? Well, that means when somebody wants to produce a lemon balm or Melissa essential oil, they have to get a lot of plant material. So there's a higher cost of production right there. They have to harvest a lot of lemon balm in order to get the same amount of essential oil that comes much more readily from other plants like lavender or like a citrus. So they need a lot of plant material. Well, that means they also have to do a lot more distilling. And so that's more water that's required to create the steam, and that's more fuel that's required to boil the water to make the steam. And so you can kind of start to piece together here that there's just a lot more of everything needed to produce that tiny little vial of essential oil. Rose is the same. Rose petals, even though they're very fragrant, they produce very little essential oil. And so rose is one of the most expensive essential oils you can buy, where a little 5 milliliter bottle that for, let's say, lemon, you're spending maybe $5, depending on where you shop, $5 to $10. Well, if you want to get 5 milliliters of rose essential oil, that's a car payment for a lot of people. That's why they require so many petals to make the essential oil. So that's the quick breakdown really of all that's going into essential oil production and how that influences pricing. If you're ever shopping for essential oils and you see that, wow, that's great, they sell orange essential oil for the same price as lemon balm, what a great deal, that's a huge red flag that that company may not be as reputable as other brands. You want to see citrus oils on the lower price end of the spectrum, and things like Melissa, helichrysum, and rose, and sandalwood. Those are going to be the much more expensive essential oils because it's just the basic economics of it and how it works to produce. So that's one actually really good indicator of a good quality essential oil brand. You should see that big range in pricing because it just is such a variable process depending on the plant that you're working with from the beginning. So I hope that was helpful. This one doesn't really take that long to answer, so let me know if that helped you or not. If you have more questions, whether you're watching now or in a replay, you can just hashtag replay if you're watching it later, but feel free to drop them in there and I'll do my best to answer it. If you would like a question answered in an upcoming A Better Way to Thrive Live, I do these on the first Saturday of every month. you can visit the link I put. I think it's the top link I added there. You can join the email community, and every so often I'll ask for questions coming up. You can email me anytime with a question that you'd like answered. And if I answer your question during one of these videos, I'll try to email you ahead of time and let you know that, hey, I'm answering your question. So, all right, I hope that was helpful. I have links on where you can find information about, there it is, the Essential Oils Separating Truth from Myth book, and also a link for the 5 most important essential oils you need to get a strong start. A lot of people don't know which oils are the best ones to buy when you're starting, so those are my top 5, and you don't even need all of them at once. If you just need to start with 1 or 2 or 3, I think that post will help you out a lot. As well as I have a link for recommended brands. I add to that as I learn about new brands, as I personally experience new ones, just to give you some options and a place to start, because it's one of the most common questions I get as an herbalist and aromatherapist. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. I hope that was helpful. I hope you're enjoying spring. We have sunshine and flowers here in Ohio, which is wonderful. Have a blessed Saturday.